Hey, everybody. Thank you for, allowing me the opportunity to be here. Really happy to hopefully contribute to this room. My presentation or my company is very different. These guys provide asset visibility. And just like Hani said, there's information and data, and I'm not providing visibility to asset locations. I mean, certainly I'm consuming their data, and I'm a customer of P44. I'm a customer of FourKites. And what I'm doing with visibility that we're recognized for in the industry is providing pricing visibility and real-time visibility to our customers. So my company's somewhat different from what they're doing, similar to Uber. I think you guys are doing a whole lot more than I am in terms of the full digital portfolio of offerings. But so I thought what it would be helpful to do is just sort of explain who we are, what we do, how we do it, and who we partner with, and hopefully try to weave it into as much visibility as I can to make it kind of relevant for this room. So Surge Transportation. So I had a trucking company 2003 to 2010, and I was an owner operator. I drove over the road for 3 years before that, and I drove trucks to pay for college. So kind of a lot of ground up experience. But 2003 to 2010 was one of the worst times in our country's history to start an asset-based trucking company, on a shoestring. So I didn't make it out of the recession and went out of business. Well, I made it out, I guess, but went out of business at the end of 2010 and had some very strong customer relationships, but didn't have any more money and had to sort of figure out, what do I do with this sort of core set of what I call to this day legacy customers, who of course still my customers today. My sort of four biggest ones then are my four biggest ones now. But how do I take those relationships and do something a little bit more valuable than sell on price? Which kind of fast forward to where we are now, we're doing a little bit of that, but really it was more of a play of how do we sell on value and what can we do? So, and again, I'm saying this, I'm not trying to pitch my company. I'm not up here doing that. I'm just trying to explain who we are, what we do, hoping that the information that I give you guys will be valuable in that context. But so for the most part, I recognized early on, or maybe shippers recognize, and they don't really know what to do with it, that fundamentally in our industry, forecast is linear and demand is not linear. And so the easiest example I give is that if there's an annual bid or RFP, a shipper will forecast, 7 loads a week on a lane, and then go out and procure capacity for 1 load a day and say, I'm going to need 7 trucks that week. So 1 truck a day, Monday through Friday. And then their end customer, call it a Walmart, orders all 7 on Monday. So that means on Monday, there are not enough trucks. The rest of the week, the trucking company doesn't have enough loads. And then everyone says, well, just go to spot market. And that's a way to, kind of deal with that. But it's not really, if we are an enterprise level shipper who has hundreds of thousands of loads a year. And so if hundreds of thousands of loads a year are going to get rejected, if on average that turns into a 10% rejection rate, just on average. And there are lots of things shippers do to try to mitigate against those shipments getting rejected and the fluctuations in demand versus linear forecast. But statistically, over decades, it's about a 10% of the time the primary assigned carriers aren't able to get to it for one reason or another. So what we went to market with this strategy in 2010 was to say, why don't you do something a little bit more advanced in terms of your strategic partnerships than just say, we'll go to this overflow spot market 10% of the time. And if you're like some of our customers who have 1 million truckloads a year, that's 100,000 shipments that go into this kind of spot market environment that is known for volatility, volatile pricing, volatile service levels, transactional people who don't really understand your network well. And whereas they might be very effective for one customer, they're not effective for large enterprise level customers who have complicated needs and different site specific concerns that they don't sort of always match across the entire nation and across their entire network and all of their modes. So we went to market to say, why don't we do this static, and I'm getting to where we kind of did this digital divide, but static published backup rates with guaranteed tender acceptance. And by static, I just mean not changing throughout a year or 6 months or 3 months or whatever the need is, and say, we'll cover the loads that the primaries can't, don't go to spot. And that was our model. And in many ways it still is. the purpose of this slide is just to show that it resonates with enterprise level shippers, and it's a strategy that has worked for us now for 12 years. I started Surge as an independent organization at the end of 2016, but I've kind of been practicing this model since 2010. So I would come up here for years and talk about the forecast being linear and demand not being linear as a problem, and been speaking at conferences for years saying it's a problem, but never really had a solution, which is kind of what brings us to visibility and to today, where now I say, well, now we have the solution, and it's this digital routing guide, dynamic rate tree, real-time pricing. Different shippers have different names. Fab used to be with Blue Yonder. They call it dynamic price discovery. So different TMSs, which is transportation management for shippers, have different names for the programs. Different customers of ours, shipper customers, same end customers that we share with P44 and 4Kites, have different names, but it's some form of real-time visibility and real-time pricing. And so Surge is integrated with these TMSs right now, and we're continuing to develop our TMS partner alliance relationship and have a lot more on the roadmap for the years to come. But pretty much what we do is we consume data, we consume real-time data, and then we process it in our algorithms, and then we essentially return a rate. And that's the rate visibility that we're providing is by consuming market data sources. So strategically, kind of at a high level, we go with historical market data sources, current data sources, predictive sources, which are names you guys might recognize in the industry, our own information based on the volume of transactions that we have, and then we apply logic to different weighted averages based on the confidence that those data sources give us in their own sort of feedback, and then our own confidence in how we're able to utilize that. And then we have a UI, where we can log in and change the variables. We have all of these variables, and I think probably Uber is doing a lot of these changes that we make with artificial intelligence or automatically. I still log into the UI and I say, okay, if there's a problem in Florida, and I'll raise my Florida inbound rate. And I'm doing that manually. So I'm not using artificial intelligence for that. And I do it all day long, and my team does it all day long. So, but we really have to understand what's happening in the marketplace, and it can be anything from weather events to just changes to congestion to, hurricanes, but it's also just kind of understanding, or ice storms in Texas, that they can't deal with, but it's also just kind of understanding what's happening in the market and reading kind of what I would say for us is how do we process the market data in a way that is meaningful given our business model. So some people will consume the same data and just make different interpretations than we do. But I think the exciting part that what we're providing to our shipper customers is, whereas we used to sort of do that either in the spot market or in this published static backup rate, now we can kind of live and breathe in their routing guide and their decisions, so that they can sort of choose, do I want to go with this API real-time pricing person after my primaries? It's just a system configuration decisions that they have because they don't want to disrupt their primary relationships, which most large enterprise level shippers don't. And then, or do I want to do it, after backup 1? So I'll offer my primary and then I'll offer my backup, or maybe I'll just offer backup 2. But they can do the configuration whichever way they want to do the configuration, right? Or maybe they just don't have a rate on file for a lane that's new, or they have to shift their sourcing for products somewhere else. And there isn't anything published. They say, okay, well, I'll just go to Surge right away. And then at the end of the day, if none of that works, there's still the spot market, or they might just say, I just want to see if market rates are cheaper anyway, and go with that. So that's kind of the visibility part of our pricing. And if I were to be selling, it's easy to activate and 100% guarantee and very high service levels, very robust network. I mean, that's kind of what we sell on. So that's the who we are, what we do, a little bit of how we do it, and now kind of who we partner with. So as I said, I am a consumer of Project 44 data. I'm a consumer of 4Kites data. I have to look at the asset visibility from a density standpoint when we're making pricing decisions to decide kind of loads versus trucks ratio. What's the likelihood that the rates are going to be higher or lower in a given market? So we're looking at density. We're also providing the location information to our customers, but we're consuming that and we're pushing it back out to other visibility providers. So they're actually, while they're competitors, they're also working together in this ecosystem to help me come up with pricing data, but also to help our ultimate end customers have that asset visibility versus the price visibility. The other part of sort of automation that we're working on, which hopefully, again, I'm trying to be relevant to this audience. So all of that, the last sort of 3 years of product development for us was on shipper procurement and shipper rating. So for us, procuring loads from shippers, given a real-time rate. And then now what we're kind of moving into in this second half of 2022 and into 2023 is automating the motor carrier procurement by giving them the opportunity to sort of book online and have our rate and our load data available to just book automatically online without having to sort of, go these traditional routes. And these are some of the partners that we work with for that. And then again, so we're talking just real-time information. And again, as a service provider here, these are some of the other companies that we work with that are just integrated, living and breathing in the ecosystem of our own transportation management system that are part of the decisions that we have to make, whether it's pricing, whether it's qualifying, whether it's, safety and onboarding and insurance. Is just a lot of this is living and breathing in our ecosystem, and hopefully relevant to this audience to just understand there are a lot of different partners and a lot of different alliances to kind of pull this off at the speed with which we're expected to. And then of course, risk mitigation also goes into our pricing data. There's, again, the market volatility, density of loads versus trucks. And then of course, weather. I would say one of the intelligence sort of partners that we're building integration with right now is risk scores on lanes with weather optics. So just like we have confidence scores on rates, that when we consume rates from market data sources, they might say, they'll give a confidence score, or they'll say we have this many reports from this many companies on this lane, and low numbers as low confidence, right? And we can build risk factors in there on our rate, and also weather optics provides risk factors on lanes based on weather. And so we're building rate intelligence that will adjust based on those. And so what I will say is, before we kind of partnered with weather optics, we would be good at assessing or looking at the weather at the origin city of a load and then at the destination city of a load, but not along the route, right? So you could go Chicago, Seattle, clear weather in Chicago, clear weather in, oh, no. I'm confused. Clear weather in Seattle, but if there's weather, the highway shut down along the way. We weren't really good at that. So that's really helped develop the risk score along the way, and say, at a certain point, at a certain risk, we're going to keep raising the rate, but at a certain point, we're just going to say, no, we're not going to return it for some reason or another. We can't service that. And just to end this, I'm not going to read this, but I want to put it out there because there's a company we work with, and you guys know well, Tive, that's starting this open visibility network of bringing everybody who's providing real-time data kind of into a community to try and kind of collaborate, and whether that's pricing data or location data. I think they're really getting this project kind of up and running right now. And I want to put it out there for the audience. If you're going to stay interested in visibility, I think this is an organization to watch as they evolve. So I just sort of want to end on that one.
That's a very quick clarification question. Yep. I know the longer questions will be later, but if I understand correctly, are you providing a market a forecast of a rate to your customers, or are you actually providing a bid?
I'm providing a bid rate. Okay. Yeah. For individual shipments, really.
Okay. Thank you.